Over the last couple of days, we just witnessed some huge moves from Hedera, and these announcements should not go unnoticed, especially if you do hold HBAR. So we have to talk about this. We're going to go in depth on a lot of these announcements and just how big of an impact it will have for not just the network itself, but also for HBAR as the gas token as well. So let's dive on in. Let's start off with just price action alone, because price action has been pretty boring over the last couple of weeks. For an example, if we actually look at the last month, this is what the last month looks like. Nothing too crazy. On the last year, these are weekly candles here. And if we look at these weekly candles, the price action has been boring since that big spike back in July. Now, for thinking about the actual price chart, I've been sharing with you guys my view of the price chart, but just to have a little bit of a glimpse at what's happening here, if we're looking at this on the lower time frame structure, aka the daily, if we are looking back here, right? If we're looking back in 2025, 2024, do we notice something similar here compared to back here? Well, if you don't notice anything, similar, just look at this. We have a big spike, chop, another big spike. Again, we have a big spike, chop. What's missing? We're missing the next big spike. Now, the interesting thing about this is that on this next big spike here for HBAR, we should clear these highs. And I don't think that it's going to be short-lived like this. In fact, I think that this is where we actually start to see alt season begin. Because again, we are in phase 2. We are in Ethereum's phase of the market. Next up would be altcoins. So on this next big spike, I don't think that we have just a slight move to the upside. And then, we chop and all of a sudden, boom, the market sells off. No. In fact, I think that we get the big spike. We get the big spike. Potentially start to, have a nice little chop. This would be the chop phase of the move. And then we continue higher. Because what we will do is we will target these highs back here from January. And then after we target those highs from January, we will target the 2021 all-time high, which I know this chart is actually missing the 2021 timeframe. I don't know why it is, but just looking at this on the weekly, we would be targeting these highs back from 2021. So the price action that I would be looking at this point for HBAR is, yeah, we're chopping right now. It's very boring, but this next move should take us to this resistance level. We might, chop a little bit. We probably don't break over it on the first move. And then after we flip it into support, we continue to target that all-time high, go into price discovery, where HBAR will essentially go to probably at least $1, right? Conservative price action, I think $1 is pretty conservative. I think we could go to $2 plus, but we're just watching as HBAR is just kind of chopping with the market. We're still waiting for Ethereum to make a new all-time high. We're still waiting for Bitcoin to break out. And during this time, we definitely focus on the altcoin charts to see if there is strength, to see what kind of price action we see. And right now, it's just boring price action for HBAR where we're just chopping and we're waiting for that next big move. So currently, just being pretty patient here. Nothing too crazy is happening price-wise. So we're just consolidating at this point. But one thing that I will say is during this time of consolidation, Hedera's announcements are not. In fact, we go back to July 25th where HBAR got announced on Robinhood. This was huge, 25 million plus customers. This was definitely a big update. Robinhood is massive, 1.2 million followers, one of the largest retail exchanges out there. And we just witnessed another big listing, actually. Now, you might say, all right, well, this is not as big as Robinhood. It definitely isn't, because again, it's only about 3,000 followers here. But we are starting to see more and more exposure for Hedera. This one is Hedera being live on a tier 1 network on DFNS HQ, opening the door for developers and institutions to build and manage secure, scalable applications across DeFi, asset tokenization, AI, and beyond. Now, this is a wallet as a service, so this just helps developers and players to tap in. And we can actually see here for DFNS builders and users, this means accessing the following on Hedera: predictable fees fixed in USD, no front running or MEV, finality in 3 seconds, carbon negative 10,000 plus TPS. As a tier 1 network, DFNS will provide the following to Hedera: automatic asset recognition, instantly detect HBAR and Hedera tokens with live balance updates, full transaction history, track all inbound and outbound activity for clear audit trails, secure transaction handling, create, sign, and submit transactions directly via the DFNS API or dashboard, real-time monitoring, use webhooks to trigger actions on balance changes, token transfers, or other events. So again, just another great update for the ecosystem, more exposure for Hedera, and allows for more builders to really kind of tap into Hedera as well. Outside of that, ETFs. So we just witnessed on the 12th, just in, Grayscale registers for a Cardano and Hedera ETF in Delaware, indicating it may soon file for a spot Cardano and Hedera ETF. This is very big news because we also just witnessed a great video clip, and this is actually with Nate Garalshi. We have what's next for crypto ETFs. One thing's for certain, Hedera is the dark horse. Check this out.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
I'll give you my dark horse. I think my dark horse, and I'll go back to the Twitter passion and engagement, would be HBAR. Like that community. Test this out. Like you go and put a tweet out about an HBAR ETF and see what happens. It's a very passionate community. I've actually talked to some of the people there. Like I like what they're doing. I like what they're building overall, but they have a very loyal following. So that'd be a dark horse for me, Hedera.
That's fair. They have a huge following in South Korea too. Like they're like
They
South
do,
Korea
yeah.
loves HBAR. But yeah, there's a
Which is
And yeah, I mean, listen, I completely agree with Nate. The Hedera community has been one of the largest communities in crypto for quite some time. Even during the times where like nobody paid attention to Hedera, the following was crazy for Hedera. When I first started this channel, I was following HBAR, XRP, Algo, very legitimate utility-based projects. And every single time that I would make an HBAR video, there would be so much love and support from the Hedera crowd. It's very clear that Hedera and the community around it is going to be much larger in time. HBAR definitely is a dark horse. I think that Hedera has been kind of overlooked for quite some time around specific things, especially crypto ETFs. And I do think that we will start to see, a really huge shift in the market for HBAR ETFs, especially once we start to see more and more, just demand for HBAR from the retail side. It's going to be impossible for the institutional side to ignore Hedera. And I don't think that they are ignoring it. I think that right now, there's just so many flashy things for the institutional players to tap into for ETFs. We look at Solana, we look at XRP, we even look at Dogecoin, right? But Hedera is one that is shining, that's not, getting a lot of love and attention, but soon will. Outside of this, though, we also continue to see more and more updates around tokenization. Here we have today marks an acceleration of institutional grade RWAs on Hedera with Swarm Markets, bringing tokenized stocks like Apple, Tesla, and gold natively to the network. This initiative allows for compliant asset-backed instruments to be held and managed directly on Hedera, and in turn opens new opportunities for treasuries, institutions, and developers to diversify portfolios and drive adoption. Currently, exiting a tokenized position on-chain is a complex process that takes several days due to the traditional settlement process. With this integration on Hedera, a redemption pool will be created for ease of access in moving out of a position. What's crazy about this, the craziest part about all of this, is that Hedera is not even being tracked on rwa.xyz. Okay? And I want to show you guys how fast things can change. Currently speaking, Hedera has 7 RWAs tied to it. So rwa.xyz is getting ready to actually put value on their platform for Hedera and track it. Currently, the 7 that's included here, we can actually see it. It's all from Libre Capital and also Red Swan. This still is not accounting for, Archix with Aberdeen. There's a ton of other ones. For an example, we go back to the beginning of the year with I'm blanking on the name, but it was tokenized gems worth over like $1 billion. I mean, when we think about how much money could easily be tapped in here for Hedera around RWAs, it could be in the 1 billion plus range easily. The reason why I said this is how fast things can change, well, look at XRP, right? In the last 30 days, I know this says only 26%, but we went from roughly $120 million to over $300+ million in such a short amount of time. Like, again, all it takes is one player to add value to the network. All of the value that just got added to XRP in the last 24 hours was coming from Vert Capital with 4 RWAs worth over $116 million. With Hedera, we could easily have one player add 100 million, 200 million, maybe even $1 billion to Hedera in tokenized form. Because Hedera has been going all in on tokenization since going back to 2022. That's when Aberdeen actually announced that they were tokenizing on Hedera back in 2022. This is how early Hedera has been for this. And what's crazy about it, right, is if we see 1 billion touch Hedera, it would immediately throw HBAR into the top 3, which is technically the top 2 because ZK Sync is a layer 2 network. So again, this is why I'm patiently waiting for Hedera's RWA value to be tracked on chain. But now we have gems, we have real estate, we have institutional funds, we have stocks now as well. I mean, guys, Hedera is becoming a tokenization powerhouse. And it's also at a time where ETF discussions are heating up. We're starting to see more market opportunity for Hedera. And this is while the price action is still very boring. We're just chopping, consolidating. I'm telling you guys, people are going to be surprised when HBAR finally makes that big leap to the upside. But also, another big update was this one. We're excited to announce that the Laser Digital Carry Fund has expanded its on-chain presence via KO on the Hedera network. This milestone marks another step in our mission to provide broader access to on-chain investment opportunities. Here we have today, KO, a protocol purpose-built for RWAs, expands its tokenized fund offerings on the Hedera network to include Laser Digital's Digital Carry Fund, LCF, and beyond. By combining KO's institutional-grade infrastructure with Hedera's high-performance sustainable public DLT, this integration provides a foundation for real-time programmable infrastructure built for the next era of capital markets. Through this integration with Hedera, KO has brought major institutional funds on-chain. We look forward to accelerating KO's mission to further expand crypto-native access to regulated money markets and alternative investment strategies. And what's crazy about this is if we actually look at the breakdown here, it doesn't really give us a full-on value to look at, right? It's not saying, oh, we're going to be tokenizing $1 billion or anything like that. But if we look at some of the information here, number one, right off the rip, okay, this is all based around institutional adoption. This is all for institutions, okay? And it's on Hedera. Hedera is becoming an institutional tokenized powerhouse. And on top of that, when we look at what they're also doing with this tokenized fund, it's all based around DeFi. If we scroll down here and we look at a few things, number one, here we have access to a KO token, which holds shares in the BlackRock ICS US dollar liquidity fund. One of the largest institutional money market funds is now available on-chain via KO's integration with the Hedera network. This meets the growing demand for secure, low volatility digital investment products while enabling programmability and composability in treasury operations. The money market fund tokenized by KO can also be integrated into stablecoin architectures and other DeFi applications as collateral or as a yield-bearing reserve, thereby supporting greater transparency, liquidity, and automation in institutional blockchain finance. Why is this important to focus on? Well, think about it, right? If we're looking at this from, the market perspective from Hedera's side, Hedera has a stablecoin architecture already built into it, the Stablecoin Studio. Also, DeFi applications as collateral or a yield-bearing reserve, we already know that Hedera is going all in on DeFi. They announced it earlier this year. And what's even crazier about this, right, is if we're looking at where this is taking Hedera and what kind of value this will add to Hedera as well. This is going to be that signal that, guess what? Hedera is not just a retail-based network. It's not just, for the retail sector. No, we are witnessing institutional grade adoption, and it's starting to scale as well. And I think that we witnessed this year. This entire year, what we've been witnessing is so many big institutional announcements, institutional DeFi, institutional tokenization, even stablecoins, right? We're still waiting for PHPX to go live on Hedera. All of these things are based around the institutional market. I'm extremely excited about this. I think that this is a very, very big move for Hedera. There's a lot of big names tied to KO as well. And I think that this shows us that the market is changing for Hedera. It's not just retail, it's a mix, it's a full mix between enterprise, retail, institutions. This is a powerhouse. I'm telling you guys, it's a dark horse in the space. A lot of people are not focused on Hedera at this point, and it's at a crucial moment while the price is still pretty stable. We're still chopping. We're just ranging with the market. Right before the largest wave of the cycle begins, HBAR is going to truly become a big player this cycle. If we go back to the cryptocurrency list, right? I remember when ADA was barely looked at, it's still in the top 10. It was in the top, I want to say the top 7 during the last cycle. I might actually be wrong on that. I think it might have been a little bit higher. Let's go back real quick to 2021, because again, we know that ADA was shaking things up. Yeah, number 7 here, and I think that we moved up to number 5, number 4 as well. I mean, guys, ADA had a massive valuation tied to it, and then even later in the year, going into like November, I'm pretty sure, ADA was number 3, 91 plus billion, 93 billion. So if we're thinking about how big Cardano was, I do think that HBAR could very well be the ADA of this cycle, where it goes and, just shocks everyone by going crazy, because, back in 2021, HBAR barely had anything tied to it. This time around, we have institutional grade adoption, enterprise grade adoption, retail grade adoption. Tokenization is just starting to get tracked on Hedera. I'm waiting for the values to actually hit the network. I think once the values hit the network, people are going to wake up and, realize just how big Hedera actually is for not just tokenization. They're going to look at the tokenization value, and they're going to be like, all right, well, I got to look into this network. Then they're going to find that, NVIDIA and Intel are utilizing Hedera for AI. I mean, all of these huge narratives Hedera has on lock right now. That's why Hedera is such a, it's a crazy network. It's a crazy project that a lot of people just do not care to look into, but it's at a perfect moment. This definitely is a dark horse in the space. It's not just a dark horse though, it's a powerhouse in the making. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because I'm free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.